ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here Lord Kapila is further describing how the living entities, they remain trapped in material illusion and suffer varieties of material distress. Actually, the Vedic literatures explain there is no material happiness in this existence. It is all distress. Krishna has even described this material existence as Dukhalyam. It is a place of misery and at the same time Ashashvatam. It is also temporary. Because sometimes somebody may argue, no, there is some happiness. But even that some happiness, how long will it last? So it is Ashashvatam. So this is the nature of this material world. Prabhupada gives an example. He says, toilet will always remain toilet. You cannot make it living room. You may put scents, you may put so many things, but after all it is toilet. So similarly, this material world is Dukhalyam. We may make so many plans to be happy, but factually we cannot be happy. So here is the example given. What is his happiness? What is the standard of happiness in this material existence? So, under the clutches of Maya, being deluded, the living entity imagines himself to be happy, even though actually he is suffering. Just like in the Vedic literatures, that example is given. The camel in the desert, he does not find anything suitable to eat. In reality, in desert there is nothing which is growing fantastically which you can eat. So the camel, he goes and chews on certain thorns. And what happens? By chewing on them, his tongue is cut and the blood mixes with these thorns. And he's tasting that and he's thinking that actually I'm enjoying. So factually, what is he enjoying is his own blood. This is the kind of illusion which exists in the material world. You see. Another example Prabhupada gives, very wonderful examples from these Vedic literatures, is like the ass. The ass is always loaded with so much of burden from the washerman. And in order to make him work more hard, the washerman sometimes hangs from his body. In the front of his face, he hangs a bunch of grass. And it is hung in such a way that this ass will keep on moving, thinking I am going to get it. Now I will get it. Another few more steps, I will get it. But he will never get it. So this foolish ass, Prabhupada explains, does not consider that actually this grass is available everywhere. Why I should work so hard just for this bunch of grass? He cannot understand. So this example is given to make us understand how is the deluding potency of the Supreme Lord. It makes us to work hard and there is no happiness, and still we are running behind that happiness. Durashaya ye bahirarthamanina. Durashaya means it will never be satisfied. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Durashaya. Those who are making plan in material energy, bahirartha, actually their hopes are always dashed. It will never be satisfied. They are hoping against the hopes. So, this is how material energy works. In today's purport, Prabhupada is giving one very interesting example which we have heard many times. But there is a very beautiful comparison which Prabhupada is giving. So the example is given about the story of Indra. So Indra, his level of happiness from our standard if we see is very high. Isn't it? People in this material world, they're all performing varieties of fruitive activities, and one of the important goals is promotion to heavenly planets. So, one can imagine that actually in the material world, karmis are working hard, and even if they have taken shelter of the Vedic literature, their goal is not to go back to Godhead, but to be elevated to heavenly planets. And in the Vedic literatures, there is a lot of encouragement given. Ya imam pushpitam vacha. Very flowery language in order to attract the living entity to perform these fruitive activities. Practically you will find when different festivals we can see people will be following some vratas and early in the morning. Now December you will find many people in black dress, going to Ayyappa temple early in the morning, taking bath, taking 1 month austerity, isn't it? Not that they want to go back to Godhead, but some kind of material desires are there. So, this is the standard of happiness of heavenly planets. That even the demoniac people who performs lots of austerities, their first target is to occupy the throne of Indra. So we can actually understand that the standard of happiness of Swarga is many, many times, thousands of times more than on this planet, what we can enjoy. So, with that standard of happiness, Indra, when somehow or other he disrespected his spiritual master Brahaspati, cursed him that actually you don't deserve this standard of happiness. You don't deserve this elevation to heavenly planets. Because your standard of behavior is that like a hog. So better you should rot in the life of a hog. That is the standard of happiness you will enjoy. So Indra was completely bewildered when he was given this curse. And he is praying to Brahaspati that from Indra I have to go and live the life of a hog. So he said, I have given you, but do not worry, your punishment will be over very soon. So Indra was cast into the life of a hog. So in many places Prabhupada explains that even when his punishment time is over, Indra was not willing to come back. Even Brahma went personally to persuade him. And jokingly Prabhupada explains, Indra is telling that what is this you are saying? Which kingdom are you talking about? Which heavenly kingdom? This is my heaven. This is my kingdom. Don't you see? My children are here, my wife is there, and we are all satisfied here. So, this is the spell of Maya. One may live in the most abominable life, still he is not ready to give up his body. This material attachment is so much. Just like Prabhupada gives an example about that woman carrying load of burnt wood. Some burnt wood she is carrying. And even though from external viewpoint it may look like that she has nothing to possess, but she is so attached to that, isn't it? So, this is the spell of Maya. That even if the living entity takes birth in a hellish condition of life, some kind of satisfaction and happiness he derives. You see, because he takes pleasure in that hellish life itself. This is what it is said here. The conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life, while deluded by the covering influence of the illusory energy, he feels little inclined. He is not inclined at all to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. So he is taking delight, isn't it? So it's only when one is in knowledge that one can understand what is suffering. When one is in ignorance, even when he is suffering, he is only trying to make some adjustments. And then he is thinking that I am quite all right. The example many times Prabhupada used to give. This is how material world is. This is how potency of Maya is. Somebody's leg is broken. Somebody is lying in the hospital. And if you go and ask him, how are you? Today I am fine. You see. Isn't it? It's a fact. So, this is the deluding potency of Maya, covering potency. That one is in actually abominable condition of life, but somehow or other he makes some adjustment in his mind and he is thinking, I am quite all right now. So, no problem. Even old people, very old people also, you will find, so attached, they are not thinking that actually I am lying down on the bed, such a burden. Everybody else is thinking when he is going to give up his body. There are examples. So, my father was telling me when I met him this time, my paternal uncle, that means his brother. So his brother's wife is practically in a vegetative state from past 2-3 years. Just lying down or sitting in one place practically. Everything he has to take care. So he was telling my father, every day I am praying, either you take me or you take this woman. Every day he is thinking, when I get up she should not be, when she is going to die. You see. So you can imagine, for everybody else that person has become a burden, and actually in their mind they are thinking, when he is going to die. It's a fact. Everybody will be thinking when this fellow is going to die. But that fellow is not thinking. Even though in the most miserable condition of life, somehow or other he wants to survive. Somehow or other he wants to live. This is the potency of Maya, isn't it? So Prabhupada is comparing this example. It's a very wonderful example. Prabhupada is saying, Indra is being called by Brahma, come back to your kingdom, isn't it? Give up this body, come back to your kingdom. Similarly, Prabhupada is saying, the Lord very mercifully seeing the pitiable condition of the living entity suffering in this material world is actually declaring, Sarva dharman parityajya, mam ekam sharanam vraja. Give up all this nonsense and just surrender unto me. And Krishna is telling, I will relieve you from all miseries. Aham tvam sarve papebhyo mokshashyami. I'll give you relief from everything in this material world. But still the living entities are thinking, no, I'm quite fine, I'm quite all right. Why I should surrender to Krishna? What is the necessity? Isn't it? So this is how the material world is. So, what do the devotees understand? See, at least to certain extent, our eyes have opened. Isn't it? And if you reflect back, that once upon a time, we were also not aware at all. And we were also in this mad race of material existence, survival of material. Isn't it? Just trying to survive and be happy in this material world. Not knowing real goal of life, endeavoring so hard for some temporary material benefits. Today, even if somebody comes and gives us some kind of, why don't you come, I'll give you, of course, a devotee may think if somebody is giving me 10 lakh rupees monthly and if I can give it to Krishna, that is different. But for his own, devotee will not think. Actually, we have seen somebody who has sincerely served, even because of whatever reason, he leaves Krishna consciousness, but he does not have that material goals that I'll be happy surviving in this material world, isn't it? So, we should reflect and understand, until and unless one comes to the point of some detachment from material happiness, one cannot advance in spiritual life. One cannot advance. So, devotees should make use of the different circumstances people are in this material existence and try to open the eyes of people with spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge, the spiritual words are so potent, it can awaken the sleeping soul. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Jiva Jago, Jiva Jago. That actually we are sleeping on the lap of which? We are sleeping on the lap of Maya. So, it is only with spiritual words that soul can become awakened. All of us, some kind of revolution came in our life only when we came in touch with the words of Srila Prabhupada. Isn't it? So, this is what we should be thinking and understanding, that otherwise, in our position of life, sometimes we may wonder why people are not taking to Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? Just like when we go to the sea beach, we are saying people, just like Prabhupada is giving the example, the children are enjoying playing on that, on the sand, making some castles and all those things. People who are his parents or his elderly people, they are not so much enamored because they have become more mature in their understanding. That is all childish play. But child cannot understand. So similarly, those who are covered with Maya, they cannot understand. So the only way is to shake them up with spiritual sound. Then it is possible. So, there may be some advantageous position. Sometimes we may find, just like Prabhupada said, that in Western country, people were not so attached to family life. So that somehow or other became advantageous for them to take up to Krishna consciousness. But actually, it does not depend upon any kind of material circumstances. Awakening of Krishna consciousness does not depend on any kind of material circumstances. Even though some positions may be advantageous, some may not be very advantageous. Just like it is said that when one is having Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribi Edamana Madaha Puman, one becomes more intoxicated. Already we are intoxicated by Maya, and when one achieves all these things, he becomes further intoxicated. So definitely it becomes difficult at that time to preach to such kind of people, to make them to come to their senses. It becomes very difficult. And sometimes we may have to wait for certain circumstances. Just like we see the example in Bhagavatam, Chitraketu, example of Chitraketu, isn't it? So, Narada had to wait till the circumstance of when he tried to preach to him earlier, he did not come to his senses. But when he was in the shock of his dear son, whom so much he had loved, so much practically he was, whole of his kingdom was thinking about getting a son. And then somehow or other he got a son, and then factually he died. Isn't it? So, sometimes we may have to wait for such circumstances. And actually we find that sometimes it so happens, when someone undergoes material tribulation, even that material tribulation, whatever, according to their karma, is a kind of Maya's arrangement so that he can come to his senses. But that alone is not sufficient. Those circumstances should be utilized by devotees to make people to come to spiritual understanding. Then it is possible. So, otherwise, as Krishna says, there is no doubt about it, that 4 kinds of people will approach Krishna. They will approach the Supreme Lord. Artho, one who is in distress. Artharthi, one who is in want of material things. Jignasu, Jnanicha, Bharatharshava, somebody who is inquisitive. So all these classes of people we can try to utilize and awaken them to Krishna consciousness by giving them spiritual knowledge. So devotees should understand that how Maya works is, we should not be surprised when we find even the most intelligent class of people so much under material spell of Maya that they don't understand the goal of life. So we should not be surprised, because we should understand this is how the Maya acts, and we should be kind enough, merciful to them, and give them this platform, give them this opportunity to utilize this human form of life properly. And that can happen only when we ourselves have become awakened. If we are also sleeping in ignorance, then there is no possibility that we will be able to awaken other people to Krishna consciousness. So we should be awakened, and once we are actually awakened, the sign of progress in spiritual life is that we will become very compassionate on others, seeing their condition of life, and we will strive hard to see to it that people can take to Krishna consciousness. So we'll stop with this Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.